This video is for younger generations. It's a video made for young people that look towards the future, look at their tomorrows, look at their todays, and don't really see a bright future ahead of them. I'd rather see a bit of a grayscaled reality waiting for them in the years to come. The truth is, 2020 came with hope. It came with a promise, the start of a new decade. Many young people, including myself, looked at 2020 as the year in which we were going to crush it, in which we were going to travel, to try something new, to get that scholarship, to start that degree, to chase that new job, to write or read that book. It brought a lot of hope. And unfortunately, the past 12 months have been anything but. It's no secret and no surprise that the last 12 months have been some of the most isolated, uncertain, and systematically difficult 12 months in recent memory. Many young people over the past year felt like they lost a year. And because of that, 2021 seemed like the hopeful year in which all the negatives associated with 2020 would slowly disappear. The silver lining, the hope that with 2021 we will have a better tomorrow, a better reality in which we could travel, we could meet our friends, in which we could socialize without putting ourselves or our loved ones at risk. The year in which we could finally meet our grandparents again. The year in which we can meet our best friends again. The year in which we can go to festivals and go abroad and potentially kiss our significant other without risking the health and safety of ourselves and those close to us. But the reality likely is that 2021 is not going to bring those things. And that this situation is going to continue. However, this video is not about that. This video is about the future that we have and the future that young people and the young generations have before them. And the sad reality is that if you were to take away all the negatives of the pandemic, if you were to take away the virus and every single negative aspect associated with it, the reality you would have will be no more brighter. It will be just as bleak. Our democracies are under pressure. Countries like Thailand, Belarus, Serbia, Myanmar, places where people have been oppressed for years, are finally having people standing up, are having people stand up for their rights, only to be met with further oppression, only to be met with iron fists which tell these people that their voices, their opinions, and their very rights are inconsequential. Countries where equal opportunity, justice, rule of law, diversity were pillars of strength for those societies are now being pushed to a macabre norm where rash decisions, judgment, and identity politics are constantly in play. We've never been more divided. We live now in a reality where fact and fiction have become a matter of opinion, where things as stark as science and absolute truth are now dependent on your political status and are directly tied with your identity. Our society is more divided than ever, and that scares me as a young person because I don't know where this is heading. To see identity politics being played in a way that instigates people to be violent instead of empathetic scares me. It's 2020, and yet there are specific things we seemingly can't get over, as if we are constantly stuck in a loop or a cycle of not being able to empathize with each other and not being able to realize that the constructs of nation state, religion, ethnicity, color of skin, or any form of identity you place on yourself is, in fact, just a construct. It exists in here, But unfortunately, what doesn't exist in here is the conflict, the damage, the problems we are constantly creating as a society. And those are just the problems we face today. What's even scarier is the potential problems we might face tomorrow. Climate change. The ultimate big problem that we're facing as a species is something we so adequately ignore and shelve and put to the side because politicians rather focus on their re-election than the securing the safety of future generations. Corporations rather focus on their profit instead of proper corporate social responsibility. Climate change is an existential threat, and yet we treat it as if the people of tomorrow can solve it. Bioterrorism and the problems it can potentially bring to the safety of almost every single individual on the planet. Artificial intelligence and its potential effect on the global market, employability, and the general chance to actually have a proper standard of living. Cyberterrorism, cybersecurity, and general data analytics. How is data being used against you in 2021, and how much worse can it get in the future? Just like in 1984, Big Brother is here, but the scary part is it is not a public institution with a scary face. It's a private corporation, and the threat is an algorithm. How will this data impact our diplomacy? How will this data impact our democracies? How will it impact our decisions, our choices, our opinions, and what we decide to be fundamentally true and absolutely false? These things are being dictated by algorithms today, not science. By news feeds, not critical thought. And as a young person, I'm terrified that this might get worse. And those are just the problems we know about. With every single solution that we come up with, we create an even bigger problem. Artificial intelligence, as an example, is a consequence of the solution of autonomy. The climate crisis is a problem that we brought out of the solution of machinery and the Industrial Revolution. What problems are our generation, our current generation, creating for the future, and that we don't even yet have the capacity to be aware of yet? So yes, I don't fault any young person for looking towards the future and thinking it's bleak. I don't fault any young person for looking at the days ahead and not being excited whatsoever, for being cynical about their politics, for being negative about the opportunities that they have at hand, because the truth is, and the problems we face as a society have never been such a true existential threat to the stability of both the planet and the existential and the longevity and safety of the species. But this jarring fear, this one true scary ass fact, brings with it somewhat of a realization that if these problems are so big and solving them will only be defined in maximum the next century, then yes, we have been born into present into a reality riddled with problems and riddled with threats that we are not even capable of imagining yet. But the truth is, that also means we are a consequential generation that was born in a consequential moment for the species, at a time when the next 100 years will define the next 1,000. Our actions are going to define the reality of generations to come. The generations before us, for one reason or another, failed to deal with these problems and threats, failed to build a reality that could solve these potential crises from happening. Now, our generation has the baton in their hands. We have the flaming torch, and it's our turn to try and potentially address the situation. The true question is, are we going to change the game, or will we be more of the same? And that is completely up to you.